Ari, the whiskey guy here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hello, my name is George. Welcome to Las Vegas Distillery. We are ringing this bell every time when we are happy. Okay, so please come and I will show you a little bit about the manufacturing. Our Nevada 150 bourbon, which was the first bourbon made here in the desert, the fermentation time is around 3 to 4 days. This is the place where the magic happens in the distillery. This is a bourbon, so you can feel very nicely the corn in it, and also we have rye in this recipe. You can see here, this is one of my bourbon staves. We started to make these whiskeys, and it's a big honor to make here, in Nevada, not just the first bourbon, but one of the first American desert whiskeys here. So let's start with the bourbons. We have
so excited.
We have different bourbon recipes. The first one, it's a 100% corn, so 1 grain bourbon, and it is we are selling all these on 90 proof. And if you smell it and if you taste it, you will feel that very, very rich, corny corn, almost the corn punches you in the face, and
it really does.
It's like a liquid tortilla kind of. It is.
Very nice spice to it.
The reason why we thought it's a good idea, because as you know, corn has to have minimum 51%, so
right.
The bourbon 51% corn, and but it's not defined how much corn you can put in it. So we thought that let's put all of it, and when we are tasting, we can compare with other recipes that how it is that is just corn. So it is a
little bit of water, dilute it down, and that almost the mapliness, the vanilla from the casks really starts to come through. Still has that very nice spiciness, white pepper on the palate. That is beautiful.
So this is the first one, and you can compare now with a 4 grain bourbon. This is a wheated bourbon, and we have
what's the percentage?
60% corn, 25% wheat. We have 10% malted barley and 4-5% rye. So very, very little rye in it, but it's a wheated bourbon like Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
And this is one of the oldest whiskeys what I have. It's around almost 5 years old.
The color is phenomenal. And you say, what's the age on this?
Almost 5 years old.
Almost 5 years
old.
And even at 5 years, it just has that really nice ruby color. Wow.
And the 4 grain bourbon is the older version of the Nevada 150 bourbon. The Nevada 150, we released it 2 years ago when Nevada celebrated the 150th anniversary. So you can compare, this is the same whiskey, same recipe when it was 2.5 years old, and that is the 5-year-old version. So these two together, I love it, to show and to taste with my guests at the same time.
The color is not too different. Even 2.5 more years doesn't give it too much more color.
And do you know why? Because the extraction happens very fast.
So fast.
Yes. So after, because of this hard, dry climate, after 2 years, and I have many blind tastings with people with know their whiskey, so it's much more knowledgeable than me. And many times they love better the 2.5 years old than the 5 years old when it's a blind tasting, because after a longer time, the extraction becomes too oaky or too earthy, and many love that one. The cigar crops, they love that more oakiness. But the 2.5, and it's good, just to compare and see.
Yeah, it really does. The distillery character here on the 2.5 year, on the 150, this one, the distillery character comes through so much more. You're right, the vanilla, it's softened up quite a bit. It's a lot sweeter. But here on the 150, even diluted, you still get that punch spiciness. You still get that great distillery character. I mean, like you were saying, we're making a desert style whiskey here, and you can taste that in the glass. I love it.
So these are the bourbons. After the just corn and the 4 grain bourbon, we have a house specialty, the 7 grain recipe.
Right.
We started to use 7 grains because 7 is the lucky number in Vegas. So this one is a little bit more grains, more flavors, and it's one of the favorites here in the distillery.
What are the 7 grains? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Thank you. So we are using 52% corn and 6 times 8%, so 48% altogether. We are using wheat, malted barley, rye, spelt, teff, and millet.
You're putting me on the spot trying to find all the aromas in here.
So it was a kind of crazy idea at the beginning, but because we're in Las Vegas, this became kind of a signature recipe for the house, and we have 7-grain vodka, 7-grain whiskey, 7-grain bourbon, so it's a little bit different. But this way, having these 4 whiskeys, you can compare them younger, older, different recipes.
Right.
So it's a good starting for discussion with whiskey lovers too.
When you're making the 7-grain and the 10-grain, are you mashing it all together? Does it all go into the cooker at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, it does.
Yes, yes.
Oh, the corn and the rest of the grains.
Yes, everything together.
And when you ferment, do you ferment on the grain, or do you pull the solids out and just ferment the liquid after mashing?
I know. I ferment everything together. Everything is fermented together. So I don't touch my mash. I cook, I ferment, and I distill everything together.
And you distill everything together?
Yes.
Even the solids go into the still?
Yes.
Wow.
Everything is together.
Where do the solids go after, when they're done, after distillation? Is there a farm you send the spent
Yes,
solids
at the beginning it has a very kind of funny story. We, of course, like everybody, wanted to be very green, and we offered, it's a couple of ranches with horses, and we gave them, and after 2 months the owner called me that, George, we love you, and it is awesome, but our horses started to run in a different direction because we were a little bit more kind of expensive race horses, and but it's a big farm, and I have 2 breweries next to me, and we try to be very green, and we are giving them. But after fermentation and distillation, the solids are very small, and actually from the local authorities, we let also the opportunity to let it down because it's no anything in it really, but we try to be green and to do it on the right way.
That's great, wonderful. Okay,
so
let's keep going.
Okay, so you tasted the 4 bourbons.
Yeah.
Now we have beside the 7-grain bourbon, the next one is the 7-grain whiskey, which has not the corn but wheat as a main grain. So it's a good to compare when you love whiskey how it looks, a 7-grain recipe with corn and with wheat.
So this was the 7-grain.
Same age, just different main grain in the recipe. 40-40.
Wonderful. But the rest of the grain structure, 8-8-8 all the way across?
Yes, exactly the same. Just I changed, instead of 40%, so 52% corn, I have 52% wheat.
This is so much creamier. On the palate, it's got so much more depth to it. It's more syrupy.
The wheat is not a huge flavoring grain like rye or corn. Makes it a little bit smoother and lets it a bit to shine out the other tastes because corn and rye, they are like really dominant many times in the recipe, and wheat just gives like for a painting, like the canvas, and the other grain flavors are like colors, and it comes out a little bit better.
The flavor here, where the spiciness here is almost more of a kind of a white pepper spiciness or a saltiness. The spiciness here is almost more like jalapeno or red chili pepper spiciness, which is really interesting. The flavor difference. That's great.
So we have 2 older versions, which one is, the wheat, which is 100% wheat. This is very good to taste also because you see these are a little bit like chaotic recipes, many different grains. This is just oat, so it's a 100% oat. If you taste this one, you will see that this is a little bit more peaceful kind of recipe on that side. So many times when I have cigar clubs, it's so interesting to see that they are so knowledgeable about the flavors of the cigars, and they can pick, a good whiskey, mostly bourbon, to a cigar, or many of them, they just love the simpleness of the wheat. So it is very interesting to see how.
And what proof are you bottling?
All of them are on 90 proof, so 45% alcohol by volume. I am, after this edition, I will have cask editions mostly, and because many whiskey lovers, and myself, it's tasting something on 120 proof, and after that, if you love it, to add a little water and open up that little mysterious world of taste, in the whiskey. So that is also very nice. We decided, to have on 90 this first kind of edition, and after that we will have more and more cask editions.
Right.
So after the wheat comes the big recipe, the 10-grain whiskey. That
You're crazy.
Yes, actually, my friends named this 10-grain like the George.
Yeah.
Exactly why you said that, the crazy one. So 10 grains, 10 times 10% different grains, and this is also around 5 years old.
You're using grains that I've never even heard of. What's the one down here? It starts with a K, not the oat. The kamut.
Kamut.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's one of the 10 grains here.
Yes, exactly.
What is kamut?
So kamut is a grain which is from west part of Asia or north part of Africa, and it's a very interesting whole grain. So if you are eating healthy, you can buy it very easily. And actually, Kathleen, my wife, found it, and we said that, okay, let's try it. And because I had a little bit more, I put a couple of barrels down of this, and it is something interesting. And I think there are a couple of other distilleries also in United States, and they are using it. So when you are small, you have so many great opportunities, just try things. And my kind of goal until now, I waited 5 years to have all these whiskeys to learn. Because this way, if somebody comes with an idea to let's make George whiskey together, or just would like to taste it, this way, okay, this is what happened in the last 5 years, and we can taste it and not just talk about it. And
right.
Now we know a little bit more, and we are ready, to make more.
This whiskey to me is so approachable. This reminds me almost of a Canadian whiskey in flavor, kind of the softness of it, and the kind of the sweetness. And when you dilute it, it just becomes this very easy, put a couple ice cubes and sit in a rocking chair. That kind of a whiskey.
Exactly, because you see, it's no dominant main kind of grain in it. All of them are like 10 sisters,
right.
or 10 good men sitting around the fire, and it's everybody is like Fred, and yes, I think that it's very nicely said, and I love that what you said. But I feel the same way.
It's a wonderful whiskey.
Okay, so after the really many 10 grains together, we have the 1 grains mostly.
Yes.
When you tasted the old wheat, we have a single malt barley,
yes.
Which is of course it's the malted barley is the base of Scotch whiskies,
yes.
And this is 2.5 years old, and also it was aged in used barrel.
Yes.
And of course, it's not peated, not smoked. It's just a used barrel, 2.5, almost 3 years, malted barley in the barrel. Just one, on 90 proof. So that is the.
Oh yeah, that definitely likens back to a Scottish whiskey or almost an Irish whiskey because of the lightness, because of the types of stills that you're using, that kind of the tallness and the brightness, and maybe it's the maturation as well, but
so
it's great.
You will see we have a couple of more barrels, and just waiting with them. So I hope that next couple of years we will have a 3-year-old version, a 5-year-old version, and we can compare not just the recipes, and but also on the age side, exactly how with the other bourbons.
As I think about bourbon versus a corn-based whiskey versus a malted barley-based whiskey, I always think of corn whiskey as being the sweeter side and kind of the sugary sweet side. But this has almost a candied fruit, almost like candied ginger, that makes it much sweeter. And I'm guessing you're malting in that. You're just getting really good sugar extraction.
Yes, usually I have a brix which measures, the sugar content of the mash between 17 and 22. Wow. So that means that the alcohol, what I can take out around, it's between 9–11%. And usually on the single malt side, I have exactly what you said, a higher yield, because I have more alcohol in, or more sugars what I can transfer.
Where are you sourcing the grains from? Are they all Nevada grains? Or are they Southwest grains?
I try to do that, and because we are in the middle of the desert, it's very difficult. But just the first farm, Panoya farm, we are growing for us the corn. It's very close to Area 51, so we are every time joking and looking in the bags, no little aliens.
Whiskey. It's alien whiskey.
It is, but we are fantastic people. It's incredible that in the middle of the desert, people are just in a very positive way, just crazy, to grow something, and we are really fantastic
Crazy
family.
George.
And we try from North Nevada. It's a much larger farming community up there, and there are more distilleries in North as we talk about it. But yes, we try. I try, the best what I can to bring, but mostly the corn, the barley, and the rye comes from different farms from Nevada, but I have connections to California and Montana too, and just try
where you need to get the grain.
Yes, yes, and because we have so many different ones,
right.
we cannot just bring it from here, but I think worth it to be authentic. So whatever in the gene and other spirits manufacturing, I try to just whatever is around me, because that will make you special. That is a distillery in Seattle or in New York State or Ohio will be different. And we, the small ones, I think this is what we can offer for our customers, to just put your community in the and your grains and your life.
The desert lifestyle, right? I mean,
yes.
Distilling and maturing in this desert community, and that flavor comes through here.
If it is a little bit different, and we talk about that in Seattle, the other distillery, we love that it's very humid, and my dream was a couple of years ago, and I hope one day I will be able to do it, to create 100 very similar barrels, and to put down in each state 2 barrels. Yeah. So 2 in Hawaii, 2 to Florida, and different elevations, and to create like an interesting 100 barrel journey. And all of them will be different, of course. So this is the rye. Today is very popular. This is a younger version. Still, you see the color immediately.
Yes, very light
you
color.
See, and this is because this was in the 150 bourbon. So when we opened the first bourbon, I filled the 10 barrels just with 5 different whiskeys.
Well, knowing that the extraction between the 150 and the 2.5-year-old and the 5-year-old between the 150, and you're getting that much color extraction out of the wood, it doesn't surprise me at all that these are so light. Hearing that these are matured in the 150 barrels.
Yes, exactly. So you see, for me, the idea was not to create the most flavorful rye at first time. This is, for me, all of these whiskeys, it's like a learning.
Yes.
Going to a class and learning something from a professor, which now it's the nature of the barrel. And now I know if I put second time in a barrel recipe, this is how it looks after 2 years.
Right.
So now I have a little, comparing these, actually all these is just to have a little bit more knowledge.
It's very perfumey, the rye. It's very kind of, perfumey is the way I can say it. Like a mist of perfume in the air.
I have already a couple of them in brand new American oak barrels, so we can compare 2 years from now how it was, in a used barrel and in another barrel.
Yeah.
So my journey on this side is that to have as many as possible, and sit down and talk about it, and people who know much more, I can learn from them, and I can, with that knowledge, I can do better and to figure it out what is the best what we can do.
I love it.
Okay, next one, it's spry. It is, we have the rye and we have spelt, and this is 60% spelt and 40% rye. It's another kind of crazy, not usual recipe, just for experimenting.
It's funny to think about the origins of whiskey and the grains that were available in different parts of the world, and people use their local grain, right? Why is barley used for whiskey in Scotland and Ireland? Because that's what they had.
Of course.
And we use corn here in the United States because that's what they had. Where is spelt from? What are the origins? Do you know about spelt?
So spelt, and you know, it's there are a couple of others very interesting, you know, like kamut or triticale. Triticale is, for example, a hybrid between rye and wheat, or teff from Ethiopia. So all these are not originates, you know, from United States or from Europe. We are coming from different parts of the world, and mostly from Africa and Asia. But I thought that it's worth it, and there are so many great distilleries around the country, you know, small ones, and Corsair, you know, or others who pioneered this kind of just unique grains. And in this 5 years ago or 3 years ago, when we started to put down different ones, I thought that just let's try it and see what happens, because, you know, these whiskies, I think if we can give to our visitors traditional recipes and a little bit more challenging or more kind of experimental ones, we can just open up their kind of curiosity to whiskies and talk about it. And it's for me, the whiskey is mostly, it's a very social kind of thing, you know, when sitting down, you know, and opening a bottle, and you know, these are just 5 years in the life of a distillery is nothing, you know. I never had a plan B, you know, I never wanted to sell this place, so I hope that the next generations will do much better, you know. My job was to start something, and hopefully we will have much better whiskies 50 years from now, and they will know, and they will know what we are doing in the same time. But
if I didn't know any better, I would guess that this had been matured in a port or PX cask. It has that kind of dark chocolate, like baker's cocoa note to it. That's really good. And
you know, it's very interesting because our taste buds are very different, and it's so beautiful, you know, because whiskeys are like us, like humans, you know, we can be very, very different, and we have a different experience with them. And just talking about it, you know, my English, because I just, you know, learned English 10 years ago, when I met people who like talking about whiskeys and spirits like a poem, you know, they are so beautifully. I don't have the vocabulary many times, but seeing in my visitors' eyes, you know, that oh, this is something, you know, but I didn't experience now, and it's not a 24-year-old very old whiskey. It's something young, but you know, it's good to talk about and start the dialogue. And already, if I did that, I reached my goal, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
This is really what it is.
Only 2 left. I'm starting to get sad. What is? Oh, this is the kamut.
Yes, okay. Just the kamut. Yes, good.
Again, with the very light color coming from the 150 cask.
Yes.
The spiciness is coming back on this one. Yeah, more bitter. More of a bitter style of grain. The process across all of the single grain it's all identical in terms of once the grain hits the cookers, your process is identical. Right?
Yes, exactly. I'm not changing the technology. So all of them are made in the same way. I will have very soon, when I got the label approval and everything else, a blended whiskey, the first blended whiskey. And I'm blending from 5 of these whiskies, and that will be the first blended whiskey here in Nevada, and that will give another kind of talking point, you know, how because now having 10 different ones, you know, it's very easy to create from all these you know, a blended version, and I'm very excited for that one too. And kamut is one of the blended part of the blended one.
The kamut I could see being used to give more kind of the other side of the flavor. You have the sweetness, right? You have some of the spiciness, but you need kind of that foothold, that plant. Put the foot down somewhere as opposed to being lofty.
Do you know what is my dream? So, for example, you come in, or you know, others come in, and you can create your own blend.
Yes. I love it.
So you can taste all of them, and I said, George, okay, let's do this and this, and you can have your own blend. And what I'm planning to do...
I'll be the first customer. Where do I sign?
What I would like to do, I would like to make a shelf, and what you blended, I put on that shelf, and you can come back anytime in next 200 years, and you know, you will find your bottle there.
There's your bottles. And then bring your friends back, and they can have some. That's great. So last but not least, oat.
Oat.
When I saw this, the first thing that came into my mind was German whiskey. Because the Germans, there's maybe 20, 25 distilleries in Germany right now, and many of them are making an oat whiskey. And so I'm excited for this one.
If I know well, I think Cobalt Distillery in Chicago, they have one. They are also a fantastic family business and pioneering the industry. So many distilleries around the country, you know, they started to do this, and just watching them and trying to do on our own way, we have that O2.
This has almost a citrusiness to it. Like orange peel, orange oils. No. Much creamier than the last two also. That's very nice. I want to put some water.
So
tell me about the bottle shape.
So the bottle shape, when I started to manufacture, you see my other spirits, the rum or the vodkas, are in a spherical kind of very simple bottles, also those ones. And once I think I got a bottle of vodka from Alaska. One of our friends from Alaska, we have a distillery, and their vodka was in this shape of bottle. And when I took in my hand, it was just good to hold it. Yes. So and it's not a special bottle, you know. Many I think it's manufactured in the United States. I think St. Louis is the name of this bottle, and many. But I love to hold it somehow, you know, like
it fits the hand very well.
So it's no big philosophy behind it or anything.
Like a very strong foot.
And
deep foot on the bottom.
And this way, you know. This was
George, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you
really
so much.
Phenomenal whiskey. I'm excited to continue to find new stuff on your shelves here.
Thank
and
you.
again, happy birthday. It's your
Thank you.
birthday today. It's his birthday.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in on your birthday.
Of course. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, George.
Okay. Thank you so much for visiting us. It was a pleasure to show you around, and if you have any questions, please find us online, lasvegasdistillery.com. And if you are in Vegas, and because everybody comes in Vegas once in a lifetime, please find us and visit us, and I will show the distillery, and we can taste whiskeys and other spirits. Really the best part of having a distillery is when people are coming and we can tell our story and share our spirits. So come visit us, and cheers. Thank you so much.
Wow. Big thank you to George and to Sid and to the rest of the team. It was George's birthday. He came in on his birthday to hang out with me and let him stumble around things inside the distillery. I hope you enjoyed part one of the distillery tour, where we talked about the story, George's story of coming to the United States from Eastern Europe and landing here in Las Vegas, Nevada. He's a water guy. We talked afterwards. He loves sailboats and tries to get out on the water as much as he can. So how he landed in the desert, I'm not sure, but I hope you enjoyed part one and hearing his story. Part number two, we got into the distillery, distilling on the grain, not just fermentation with the solids in the vessel, but distillation with the solids in the stills as well. Very unique stuff. And there with part three, with tasting through some of the great whiskeys that they make at the Las Vegas Distillery. Next time you are in Las Vegas, get about 20 minutes off the strip, head down to Henderson and check out the Las Vegas Distillery. Shake a hand, make some new friends. They're great guys. Thank you very much, George, Sid, the rest of the team. Again, it was George's birthday when I was in there, and man, what a special place and special whiskeys. And I hope you can find it very soon on a shelf near you. Look for some 60-second reviews of his whiskeys as well. So, from Las Vegas, Nevada, thank you very much. Keep watching some videos with me, Ari, the Whiskey Guy.